So more on the top rank thing. So we know that Manny Pacquiao is going to fight in front of 55,000 people in a stadium on ESPN, and it'll come on at 9:00 p.m. Eastern, and I think it's 3.5 hours of boxing. And so they're going to have Shane Mosley Jr. on the card and Shakur Stevenson on the card. And the other news is that with the deal that Bob Arum has now with ESPN, ABC, and Disney, they're talking about putting Terrence Crawford's unification bout on ESPN, quite possibly ABC, and the rematch between Vasily Lomachenko and Orlando Salido also on ESPN, possibly even ABC. This is big. This is big because it's a real deal. It's not time buys or anything like that, and it's real boxing. I mean, and from what I'm hearing, ESPN is going to treat boxing like it does other sports that it shows. It's just not going to be limited to a small budget Friday night fights. You're going to see fights on ESPN, big time fights, and on ABC. So between Oscar De La Hoya and Bob Arum, now you're looking at direct competition with that premier boxing thing. That now you're looking at primetime television. You're looking at Saturday night slots. Who knows? Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon. We could be looking at something big, and not any bogus matchups either. Real fights, prospects versus prospects, champions versus champions. And Bob Arum has a bunch of backers. I mean, he has sponsors. And when you look at Oscar it's also forcing the hand of HBO now, because all right, well, I'll get into that in a second, because as I stated in other videos, if Oscar De La Hoya can stay away from the temptation, stay away from the demons, his lineup of prospects that he has, mixed in with some contenders and some ex-champions, I mean, you're going to have some great fights. And in the next year to 4 years, he could be running things, I'm telling you. Like if you look at Oscar right now, he has Saul Canelo Alvarez, who was a champion, Jorge Linares, who is a current champion, Miguel Cotto, who'll be fighting for a belt, Jezreel Corrales, and so that's like your world champions. And then he has some other champions. But then in the next few years, you're looking at Jason Quigley in Oscar's stable. This is all Oscar De La Hoya fighters. Demetrius Big Meech Ballard, Randy Caballero, Diego De La Hoya, Jojo Diaz, Rashidi Ellis, Frankie Gomez. He's missing in action. So much talent, needs to get his act together. You got Nico Valdez, Alex Rocha. The list goes on. And then just too many names to mention. And then you have in Oscar's stable guys who you can throw into the mix who've been around, and you can throw them on the cards strictly, some of them in main event, strictly by name recognition. Saddam Ali, Christian Mahrez, who I think has a belt now at an advanced age, but I think he's a world champion. Pablo Cesar Cano, Yuriorkis Gamboa, Keandre Gibson, Mauricio Herrera, Toriano Johnson, David Lemieux, Yoshihiro Kamagai, Takashi Miura, Lucas Matisse, Antonio Orozco. You got Michael the Artist Perez, who had a big win recently. Ronnie Rios. You got the guy Shabransky, Patrick Teixeira, Francisco Vargas. I mean, and that's just the Golden Boy, and that's not all of them. That's just some names from the Golden Boy stable. Not to mention the Bob Father, Top Rank, and his guys. And then you got entertainment. I mean, like that 7 foot tall Chinese heavyweight guy. He's Golden Boy. Oscar also has a woman's fighter named what is it, Marlon Esparza, or Esparza, and she's fine. Boy, she's fine. Too bad she likes women, boy, but she. Anyway, she was an Olympic bronze medalist. So Bob Arum, if they do this right, oh boy. And going back to him having Shakur Stevenson, this reminds me of the drug game. And in the drug game, if you ever want to get the bad guy, I mean, not the real bad guy, but who really bring the drugs into the States. But if you want to get the kingpin, the rule is you find a lot of drugs, but you don't follow the drugs, you follow the money. And when I look at Rock Nation, you want to look at Rock Nation as the drugs, and you want to look at James Prince, as the money. And if you follow the money, I'm going to tell you something that may sound shocking. I was watching another video and it kind of reminded me to say this. Heavyweight Bryant Jennings, haven't heard his name in a while, right? Bryant Jennings is now signed with Top Rank Boxing. And guess what? Bryant Jennings is a Jay Prince guy. Now look at Shakur Stevenson. Remember he was fighting for the gold medal, and Floyd Mayweather was recruiting him, and he flew over there to watch him. And when it was all said and done, it was like, okay. Someone even broke the news and said he's going to sign with Mayweather Promotions, and Shakur said not so fast. And after a little while went by, who did he sign with? Jay Prince. And what promoter did Jay Prince lead him to? The Bob Father. So now you've got Bryant Jennings, Jay Prince guy, signed with Bob Arum, Top Rank. You got Shakur Stevenson, Jay Prince guy, signed with Bob Arum, Top Rank. Now you got this big deal. Rumor had it, I haven't confirmed it, but it's just a rumor that Sergey Kovalev was putting out some feelers to see what Top Rank was all about. I think he's still with Main Events, and he may be with them for at least another fight, but you gotta wonder where these rumors come from. And now, Follow the money. Follow the money. Who's Jay Prince's biggest client right now? No, it's not Bryant Jennings. And it's not our Olympic silver medalist, Shakur Stevenson. Jay Prince's biggest client right now is a guy named Andre Ward. And remember, I made the prediction that Rock Nation, with Ward won or lost, would be out of boxing within a year's time. Wouldn't it be crazy if Andre Ward winds up with Bob Arum as a top-ranked fighter? Because Jay Prince has a nice relationship now, it seems, with Top Rank. Remember, so when he got Shakur Stevenson, obviously the Mayweather thing wasn't going to happen. You remember years ago, if you don't know the Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Jay Prince story, it got real ugly. And I'll just leave it at that. It got real ugly, and Prince kind of sent Floyd a message, and that's when Al Heyman kind of swooped in and saved Floyd from a bad situation, in my opinion. So now, not a big fan. No, excuse me, I'm not really a fan at all of Ward. This is prior to this Kovalev stuff. But I really like Bob Arum, and I like what he's doing. And it would just be, it'd be crazy if Jay Prince winds up taking him and he winds up with top-ranked boxing. That'd be weird. But weirder things have happened. So keep your eyes on that top-ranked deal. My assumption is that what's the guy? Conlon, Mick Conlon. I think he's going to fight on the Pacquiao undercard. Shane Mosley Jr., Shakur Stevenson, ESPN. It's free as long as you have basic cable. It's free. Well, if you pay your cable bill. So technically it's not free, but it ain't pay-per-view, folks. So be happy with that. Between Canelo versus Junior, Canelo versus Triple G, Ward versus Kovalev, and that other fight with the MMA guy that I won't talk about, you got people paying $300-400 if they're watching all of those fights. So thank you, Top Rank. Thank you, Bob Father. Thank you, ESPN. Thank you, ABC. Thank you, Disney. And now, see, now the party's on. Because now, with the ABC and ESPN deal, with Oscar having ESPN, with Top Rank, Bob Arum doing this deal with ABC, ESPN, and Disney, now you directly compete with Premier Boxing. Now it's on. If you put better fights on, because both I assume that Top Rank is going to match some of their fighters up with each other or with other promoters, but then there could be a nice robust, a nice healthy competition between Top Rank and Golden Boy, since they both have an ESPN deal. And listen, the way Bob Arum does things, I mean, he's gonna, if there's a K2 fighter and it's a good fight, he's gonna do it. If there's a main events fighter and it's a good fight, he's gonna sign off on it. If there's a premier fighter and it's a good fight, he's gonna do it. I believe it may come down to purse bids, who wins what, but I really, man, there's so much potential good that can come out of this, and it could put boxing in a better place. It's still a secondary sport. Don't get it twisted. This isn't the 60s. in the 70s, where the big three were baseball, horse racing, and boxing. Boxing is now a secondary sport, partially because of things that happened with the Rigo fight and the Ward Kovalev fight. Things like that have driven fans away. They're like, hey, if we want WWF or WWE stuff, I mean, we can go watch that with Vince McMahon. But for this deal, man, and he has backing. This isn't, oh, here's a bunch of money, go ahead and time buy and put on some disappointing fights, and maybe a couple of times a year put some big names on and let's get it done. No. This is going to be, man, boy, this can be. I'm excited. It's about 5 years, 7 years too late for Manny. However, I'm glad we got it. I'm glad he can kind of fade out of the sport as a guy who was a trendsetter once again. This is big. This TV deal is just... And remember, the names people were floating around was Crawford versus Pacquiao. Remember that? If that ever came to fruition, man, could you imagine if they put it on ABC? Oh my goodness. It'll be like one of the highest watched fights. I think came on ABC some years ago. I know it was Muhammad Ali and oh man, gosh. Maybe I should have looked it up. I wasn't thinking I was going to talk about it. But it was Muhammad Ali and was it Norton? Well, anyway, many years ago, it was a Muhammad Ali fight. If I could think about it, I'll say it in the next video. But it crushed whatever. Or was it Spinks? No, you know what? I think it might have been Leon Spinks. It was either Muhammad Ali, Norton, or Muhammad Ali, Leon Spinks. I know Leonard. Let's put it this way. I know Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran. That was close to like 50 million viewers or something like that. Man, I wish I would have had those numbers. But anyway, if you're talking in a range, let's say if you're just talking in a range of like 50 million, 40 million, 30 million, you get the idea of how much money people could make. When you talk about pay-per-views, don't get me wrong, your pay-per-views have 1 million, 2 million. But when you're talking about 55 million people and having like a 38 rating or whatever the TV is at that time, it's feasible. And then when you have sponsors and backers, think about this. Think about, let's take the Mayweather and Pacquiao event out of the equation. What was the highest watched pay-per-view prior to that? Was it De La Hoya and Mayweather? Or was it like 2.3 million or something like that? Now, that was pay-per-view, right? You see how much money was exchanged between De La Hoya and Mayweather. Floyd kind of overstated what he made back then. And I'm speaking in terms of the guarantee. Now look at something that comes on free TV. But it's global, like the Super Bowl. How much money do you think is tied into the Super Bowl? And when they tell you 100 people, 100 million people, or however many people watch the Super Bowl, you know they're talking about the United States, right? They're not talking about the world. That number that they always give for the Super Bowl, they'll say XXX million watch the Super Bowl. And then they'll say over 70 countries or whatever the number is. It's not 70, but so give me the number of the people in all 70 for the example I'm using of the countries plus the 100 million, and then that's the real number. So Manny Pacquiao is a global athlete. So imagine how many people. I wish it was on ABC as opposed to ESPN. That doesn't matter. But think of the ratings it'll do. It's kind of a late announcement, but it's going to do good numbers. So if somebody tells you, well, it has to be pay-per-view for big money to be made, no. If you have the sponsors and you have the transitional, if you have the athlete, he just put HBO, Showtime, Premiere, everyone else, Rock Nation, Main Event. This just put everybody on notice. But the thing about Bob Arum is he knows how to promote. So he will involve those other promoters in his TV deal. He'll have to. And he's going to play fair. He's going to play ball fair. He's not going to try to have a monopoly on things. And that's why I look at the piece of it, not the Disney and not the ABC, which owns ESPN, but the ESPN piece of it, the fact that it's a deal with them, and the fact that Oscar already has a deal. I just see, man. All right, I'm tripping. My mouth is watering over this deal, but don't be shocked. Follow the money. Follow James Prince. If you see Shakur with Top Rank and you see Bryant Jennings, don't be surprised if Andre Ward winds up with Top Rank. If he does, I want the points on that. I want the points on it because you heard it here. And if he doesn't, I mean, hey. But I'm looking at Prince. I'm not looking at Rock Nation. I'm looking at Jay Prince and how he's aligned a couple of his guys with Bob Arum, which means he's cut some side deals. And don't be surprised when you look at Bob Arum. What do you see? You see a Jewish guy, an old man, a guy who's closer to 90 years old than 80 years old. I believe Bob is I believe he turned 85 this year. And then you look at Jay Prince, and what do you think when you see Jay Prince? Come on, guys. What do you think? But the good faith that Bob Arum had when that Mayweather situation happened, the good faith exercised by Bob Arum may pay off with him getting bigger names and fighters tied in with James Prince. We'll see. We'll see. Forces HBO's hand because Bryant Jennings was an HBO fighter. So what do you do now? And HBO, I'm sure they're willing to walk away from Bryant Jennings, but if Saul Canelo Alvarez is Oscar's guy and HBO doesn't want to lose him, but they don't want to do business with Arum, who Oscar is going to do business with, what if there's something on the table where Canelo's matched up with one of Aram's guys? Okay, HBO, do you put your bid in because you know it's going to be a big money fight since Alvarez is the A side, and now do business again with Aram, or do you kind of hold to where you're at? So it's going to be interesting how this plays. All right, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Catch you on the next one.